everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to do my second half of December wrap-up. So if you haven't seen one of these videos, what I do is do this kind of stats that I keep for my reading, and then I just go through the books one at a time in the order that I read them and tell you what I thought. So let's just get into it. So the second half of December, like right around the middle of December, I started to really hit a slump, and it was because I was reading a couple things I didn't like back to back, and one of them was a book club book for my In Real Life book club, and so I had to read it and I didn't like it, and so I need to get better at DNFing. Maybe that should have been a goal of mine for 2023. If you guys have not seen my goals video, I'll link it down below, but maybe I should have made DNF more a goal because I just hate doing it, and I do it. I am planning to make a video of like all the books I DNF'd because I do it. I just don't do it very often, and so let's just get into the stats. So in the second half of December, so the 16th to the 31st, I read 11 books. The average page length was 250 pages, which is about average for me because if we're talking about the middle grades that I read with my daughter and then also the full-length novels that I read for myself, it's about 250 pages. I read 2,746 pages, which is still 236 pages per day. And so that is great because you guys, so I got slumpy in the middle of the month. And so then I turned to one of my strategies for getting out of a slump, which you will see as I go through the books. But I read 7 novels and 4 chapter books. So as you might guess, 7 adult and 4 middle grade. 1 was on my shelf and 10 were not on my shelf. I always shoot for around 50-50, and that was just not the case. But because I was pulling in the slump busters, I had to do what I had to do. I read 5 from Libby, 3 from the library, 1 from Kindle Unlimited, 1 from Libro FM, and 1 from NetGalley. So I like that I'm using so many services. I read 6 audiobook, 4 physical book, and 1 ebook. And then 2 were new releases and 9 were backlist. And then as far as genres go, I read 4 contemporary, 3 nonfiction, 2 mystery thriller, 1 women's fiction, and 1 romance. So the nonfictions are where it's at. When I'm feeling slumpy, if I can listen to a nonfiction audio, like a memoir or something, it almost always pulls me out. And it's because like I can listen and enjoy without having to like think through different plot lines and think like it's just someone telling their story, and it's like listening to a friend, and it pulls me out of my slump every time. And so as far as star ratings go, I ended up having 1 2.5 star, 2 3 stars, 1 3.5, and 6 4 stars, and a 5 star. I do not give out 5 stars very often, and if I do, it's often nonfiction or middle grade, but that's another discussion video that I really want to do, like being stingy with 5 stars. To me, 5 stars means I cannot think of anything wrong with it, and or it's like an all-time favorite. So I don't give it very much, but this one I definitely did. So the average is 3.73, which is awesome for me. Like normal, my average is like 3.5, which is just kind of middle of the road. I'd recommend it. Not the best thing ever, but pretty good. And so I ended up kind of turning that slump around, and that feels good. And I give all the credit to nonfiction. So let's talk about what I read. So the first one that I read was The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. This is the one that I read for my In Real Life book club, Christmas book club, and it was terrible. I gave it 2.5 stars. It just was one of those stories that has 1,000 characters, 1,000 plot lines, some really terrible characters, honestly. It had a couple things that I liked. That's why I gave it 2.5 stars. Like it had a sister plot line that was going. It had a bookstore owner that I liked. But overall, it was not a good book, and it definitely made me slumpy. Then my daughter and I are reading the Greetings from Somewhere series by Harper. And so we read The Mystery of the Stolen Painting by Harper, and I gave it 4 stars. It's about so long story short, the premise of the series is that there's twin kids, Ella and Ethan, and their mom is a travel writer. So for a year, they are moving wherever her jobs take her, and dad's homeschooling the kids, and they're going all over the world. So I love these books because they give you like a mystery story, but they also give you a lot of education about where they are. So in this one, they are in Paris, and a painting gets stolen from the Louvre, and they have to figure that out. So then I read The Best Thing by Mariana Zapata. This was one of my Advent Vlogmas books, and so if you haven't seen that, I will link it down below. I'm not going to say a whole lot here except that I didn't love it. 3 stars. Next was The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama. So I love Michelle Obama, and this is her follow-up. Well, it's not a follow-up. She wrote Becoming, and I loved that book. This one is different in that it is a little more self-helpy, but it's about the light we carry inside of us and how to like be true to yourself. And it's just so good. It is so good. I gave it 5 stars. It's narrated by Michelle. It is one that if you have Libro FM or Audible or anything where you can own audiobooks, I would say this is one worth owning. Highly, highly, highly recommend. And that, after reading that Mariana Zapata, which was huge, the Jenny Colgan felt pretty big. I knew I needed some Michelle, and she did not disappoint. Next is The Mystery of the Forbidden City by Harper Paris, and then The Mystery of the Lion's Tail. These are when the kids are in, I think Mumbai, and then somewhere in Africa on a safari, and they were really fun too. 4 stars for both of those. Then I read Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry from Chandler from Friends, and this one was weird to listen to because I did not understand or realize how far back his drug addiction goes, and just hearing his story from his words and like hearing him now be a 50-something man and the way he has chosen to spend his life, not even chosen, addiction got him, and multiple times throughout his life. And I don't know where he is now as far as in his status of sober, not sober, struggling, not struggling. I don't know where he's at in that. And this book was very interesting. 4 stars. Then we have The Mystery of the Suspicious Spices by Harper Paris. This is another of the Greetings from Somewhere. Then we have The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I've read some Rachel Hawkins, and I have liked her generally, but kind of in that 3.5, 4-star range. This one is about 2 friends. Well, a friend they're both writers. One's super famous in like the self-help world, and the other is a cozy mystery author. The self-help one says, hey, come to this villa in Italy with me, and let's spend the summer together. And so they go to this villa that has a past. And so in the past, there was a murder that occurred there. And so we get both timelines, the past and the present. I was definitely more interested in the present timeline than the past. And the past, so in the past, we find out what happened. In the past, it is a musician, a very famous musician, and then a lesser famous musician, one of their girlfriends, and then the girlfriend's stepsister. One of them dies, and we're kind of figuring out who, what, where, when, why about that. And this book gave me like mixed vibes of both like Runtime by Catherine Ryan Howard and Verity by Colleen Hoover a little bit. And maybe, I definitely got vibes from both of those. It is neither of those stories. But it's about like, so our authors in present day, the cozy mystery author is really wanting to dig into what happened back in the past. And so she is doing research and writing a story about it. But that one of the girls in the past wrote a best-selling book that may or may not have been the truth of what actually was happening at that time. So there's kind of like discovering notes and journals and things to piece together a story, and it was good. It just wasn't the best that I have read, and it doesn't have like, if you were not into some of the more vulgar things in Verity, it does not have any of that. And Verity is a ghostwriting situation, and that's not what's going on. But and Runtime is very like meta in that she is an actress going to make a movie. But then the things in the movie start happening, like, it's just a very layered on layered, and that's kind of how this is. So I liked it. I didn't love it. It was good though. I would say pick it up. 3.5 stars. If you could tell, Etta, my baby, she's laying on the floor and she's about done. So I'm going to make this quick. I read What's Eating Us, Women, Food, and the Epidemic of Body Anxiety by Cole Kazdin. And I assumed Cole Kazdin was a man, and it is not. She is a female. And this book is a really interesting nonfiction about the history and treatment of eating disorders, and how, especially in America and the Western civilized world, how eating disorders are treated. And I was fascinated by a lot of this, and it really blows up like the craziness of diet culture and how it is a business. And it was rough, but I'm going to pick up at it and then I'll keep talking about it. Okay, we'll just finish this with Baby in Tow. And so I really was fascinated and really enjoyed it. However, Cole herself has suffered from an eating disorder, and you can tell she's very much in recovery. I don't think you're ever truly recovered, but she's very much in recovery. And so this one is one you definitely need to tread lightly if you have any sort of triggers with eating disorders. This one may trigger you because she gives a lot of details about hers specifically. Okay, we just couldn't quite make it. But and then last I read Summerland by Elin Hilderbrand. And this one, I started the year and ended the year with an Elin Hilderbrand. And that is just ironic. I didn't do that intentionally. But this one is 4.5 stars. This is one of my favorites by her. This is about a high school graduation night in Nantucket, as all of her books are set in Nantucket, and it's high school graduation night, and there is a car wreck, and so we follow Penny and Hobby. They are twin siblings, and Penny is this musical prodigy, has this beautiful voice. Hobby is the all-star football player, all the things, and then her boyfriend Jake, and then another friend named Demeter. And the four of them are in a car crash, and Penny is killed. Hobby is in a coma, and the other two are virtually unscathed. And now we know that Penny was driving, and we know that she was really, really upset, but sober when they left this party. So we follow the aftermath with these four kids, as well as their parents, and all of the intertwinedness. And they are, it's a small town. Nantucket gives us small town vibes when you're talking about people who live there year round. And I've never been to Nantucket. I don't know how big it is or whatever, but it gives small town vibes. And so the way all the families are connected, like these kids all go to school together, they're all good friends, they've all been friends for a long time, and so the interconnections are really strong and the relationships are really strong. And I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The whole book we're wondering why Penny was so upset, and when we find out, it doesn't necessarily, it's pretty anticlimactic. You would think, hey, logically, that's not a reason to, drive recklessly like that and whatever. But it really brings to light that you don't know what is going on in somebody's life, and you don't know what the straw that breaks the camel's back will be. And you never know that about somebody else. And so I really enjoyed this book. 4.5 stars. I would definitely recommend, if you're a fan of hers and have not read this one, pick it up. If you're not a fan of her yet, maybe try this one. That and the Winter Street series are my favorite by her. So if you're interested, but yeah, that is everything I read in the second half of December. I feel like we ended 2022 on a good high note with a 4.5 star and a bunch of memoirs and all that kind of stuff and nonfiction. So, yeah, that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.